Andy here for Going Nomad, aka Pigs on Bikes, and today I thought I'd just do a quick video in reply to some emails that I've had recently over the last couple of months or so. Kind of repetitive questions about illness, malaria, dengue, and biggest health risks whilst living in Siem Reap. So, okay, first of all, I don't know anybody here who stays here a long time and takes malaria prophylactics. They're expensive, and also the risk of malaria here apparently is very low. I don't know personally anybody who's had malaria here. Now, that's not to say that there isn't a risk, but just that the risk is low. So you have to make your own choice on malaria prophylactics. What we generally try to do, or what I generally try to do though, is cover up and try not to get bitten. And there are mosquitoes here, there's quite a lot of mosquitoes here actually, at certain times of the year. But the malaria risk is low, and I know of people who have had malaria, but I think that's more when they've been working out in the field up northern part of Cambodia near the Vietnam border, where there is Mondulkiri, Ratnakiri areas where there is an increased risk of malaria. So, okay, malaria. What you don't want to get is dengue. Hang on, let me get a coffee. What you don't want to get is dengue. And there is a risk in Siem Reap area. I'm not sure about Phnom Penh or other parts of Cambodia, but I do know people in Siem Reap who have had dengue fever, and dengue fever isn't very nice. There's 4 types of dengue fever. Every time you get one type of dengue fever, you become immune to it. So you can only really have dengue fever 4 times in your life. I know one person who's had it 3 times, and he works out in the field, and he's been here a long time now, several years. Other people, I think, who I know have had it, it's risk times time, isn't it? So the longer you're in somewhere with a low risk area, which is low risk area, the more chance you are of catching it. But there is a risk of dengue here in Siem Reap. But again, it's mosquito carried. You can't take anything for it or be injected against it. It's no prophylactic for it, apart from covering up. If you need a mosquito net at night time, which you might do if you're living in certain types of accommodation further out in the villages, then you try and do everything to not get bitten by mosquitoes. And it's not a major hassle really. It's like so if I know I'm going to be out after sunset, then I usually wear a pair of long trousers and socks and shoes, and on my arms I just put a very small amount of the locals. I use Skeetoline, the local mosquito repellent. It's like $2.50 for a squirty bottle. Okay. The biggest health risk by a long way, I think, here is road traffic accidents. I know several people, a high percentage of expats who I know and locals who I know have been involved in road traffic accidents, and that's for two or three reasons really. One of them is that it's busy during rush hour. Nobody really follows any rules. There are rules in Cambodia, but they're not enforced. So there's the same kind of highway code in Cambodia as what we would have in the West. It's just that it's not practiced, it's not enforced. And also the lack of protective clothing, helmets, gloves. I mean, in England, if you do your motorcycle test, even to ride a moped, they're saying, it's illegal anyway in England to ride without a helmet, but they recommend decent trousers, gloves, jacket. Now obviously we live in a very hot climate, so it's not very practical to expect people to ride around in full leather protective gear when they're riding a 50cc or 100cc moped. But the fact is most people ride it around in flip-flops and shorts and a string vest kind of thing, so no helmet. Put the kids on, everybody on the bike, no MOT on the bike. And it's mainly mopeds, motos, or whatever you want to call them out here, hitting other things, whether it's other motos, cars, tuk-tuks, lorries, or whatever. So the biggest risk is road traffic accidents, being run over, and things like that, by a long stretch. And I think then from a health risk point of view, after RTA is the risk through alcohol and drugs. And there's almost every, alcohol is 25 cents a beer, sometimes as cheap as if it's on special offer, and from a street stall 50 cents for a beer. Cigarettes, very cheap, 50 cents a packet. And I'm not mixed up in any of the drug culture or anything like that, so I don't know too much about that, but from what I can make out is that it's relatively cheap and relatively easy to find certain types of drugs. And so I think the risks, the long-term risks, are, if you're that way inclined to enjoy intoxicants, is because they're so cheap and readily available, is, you know, staying clear of them, really. And, you know, there's quite a high percentage of people who are expat here who do drink a lot more than what you could afford to in England, probably a lot more than you're recommended to in England. And certainly smoking. I mean, I do like a beer on a Friday, and I do have a packet of cigarettes on a Friday, and I've always done that. When I was in England, that was my Friday treat. But the thing is in England that would cost me £10 for a packet of cigarettes, and that would cost me £4 for a pint, so $5 for a pint. And out here, $1 is 50 cents, and a packet of cigarettes is 50 cents. So there's no incentive to not do it from the cost of it, if you like. It's so cheap out here. So you can see, I mean, like I work Monday to Friday, and I can't deal. I cannot deal with 25 kids if I've had a beer the night before. So that kind of restricts the nights that I can go out and have a drink. So that's kind of a good thing as far as I can see, because it would be very tempting if I didn't have to go to work on a Thursday. It would be very tempting to go and sit in a bar on a Wednesday and have 5 or 6 beers, you know, because it's $3. And yeah, so they're the main health risks, I think. Avoiding intoxication, road traffic accidents. Always wear a helmet. Buy a decent helmet as well, because the cheap $20 helmets here, I saw one run over by a car the other day. It folded up like a tin can. It's like, okay, right, it might satisfy you, kind of, maybe legally, because there is a legal requirement here for the rider to wear a helmet, but the amount of time you get stopped is so few and far between. It's only on certain roads. So here in Siem Reap, you know, regular police checkpoints down Riverside Road, if you're not wearing a helmet, it's a small fine, like a few dollars. I know for no seatbelt it's $6.25, 25,000 real. So for no helmet it must be something similar. But yeah, the cheap helmets, I saw one run over by a car the other day. It was just squashed, just like that. There's no protection. Wouldn't have done you any favours if you're wearing it, so buy a decent helmet. And obviously the drink drive laws as well. I mean, you know, there's a lot of people have accidents here at night time when they're drunk, because there's no real drink drive, nobody's stopping you drinking and driving. So you can go out and have 6 or 7 beers, then jump on your motor and ride home. And I know a lot of people who do that as well. You know, there's a lot of people, a lot of expats out here who wouldn't do it in the West, but they do it out here, and I don't know why. So anyway, main health risks. There you go. Not really malaria. Avoid dengue. Don't get run over. Don't get drunk. Don't do drugs. Kids. Ooh, that's a bit weird, isn't it? Anyway, okay. Like, share, subscribe. email me at gonomad123gmail.com, and stay safe out there. Bye.